All guests on ZASLOW Show 2.0 brought to us by the official beer of the program, Johnny Cuba. European roots with that Caribbean soul. A refreshing German lager in a can. Pick up a six-pack of Johnny Cuba for yourself, your local Sedanos, Presidente, Winn-Dixie, Fresco y Mas. Always drink responsibly. And, of course, don't forget Johnny Cuba's mantra, stay tranquilo. We're a little more than a week away. We get back to football. It's the first weekend that we haven't had football in months. Chris Carlin, ESPN Radio, Carlin versus Joe every afternoon. One of my colleagues, these guys are my colleagues now that I'm at ESPN Radio. Chris, thanks a lot for hanging out with us today. So I know ESPN Radio is not sending people out to Radio Row. It's really changed the way Radio Row has been. It used to be a thing where every station goes. Did you enjoy going out to Radio Row, or are you going to miss doing that kind of stuff?
I enjoyed it back in the day. I enjoyed it, maybe, I don't know. It probably last time I really went, I think it was like 2018. And it was all right, but it just had become such a zoo, and everything is, all the guests that you're getting on had a lot more to do with whatever their plug was and all that. And it's amazing. Like, you realize you sit there and you think, I've had 100 guests on this week. We've had an amazing shows all over the place. And then, you'd go back, you check the ratings, you'd be like, oh, wasn't a good week rating wise. It turns out they actually do like hearing from us a lot, and it's nothing against the guests. It's just, when you're going wall to wall with it. Back in the day, I did thoroughly enjoy it. Like when you really had to work to get people to show up, and more so when I was a producer than when I was on the air.
Right. Well, that used to stress me out so hard.
Oh, yeah.
Because I remember doing Radio Row back. You were a producer, of course, back at WFAN. I used to produce for Book Shambi at 790 The Ticket. And just that whole week of having to run up to the scrum of people, with the handler and try and explain why you should be on the list, to talk to whoever it was so stressful to me. Like, I don't miss that part of it.
Oh my God. My first one, I think, was 98 in San Diego. And it was so stressful, like middle of the week. I had my first day or two go by and I got sick. I was feeling horrible in the middle of the week from it, and, missed a show because of it. It was, stress was just, I didn't handle stress all that well. I had a lot more hair then, man. It was a whole thing. But yeah, it was an incredibly stressful week. But at the end of the week, it was always like, all right, we had a pretty good week here. This worked out all right.
All right, so you're not missing having to go to any kind of Radio Row next week. I got it. All right.
Right. Here's what's weird about it, though. No, I don't miss those parts of it. But then I've got FOMO about not being there. If I was there, I wouldn't want to be there. Now that I'm not there, I want to be there. So right. It's just basically my own neuroses with it more than anything else.
Chris, have you seen some of the ticket prices for this Super Bowl on the secondary market? My entire life, the Dolphins have been in the Super Bowl once in my life. I was 5 years old. So I've never seen the Dolphins in the Super Bowl. And it's been so long that they've been in the Super Bowl that if they were to get to a Super Bowl, there's no way I'm ever going to be able to afford to go.
It's insane. If I'm not mistaken, and tell me if I'm wrong, when I looked earlier in the week, because I like to look at this kind of thing.
Me too.
They were well north of $5,000 to get in.
Yeah.
Get in. Where the game is a rumor if you're sitting in the upper deck. I got news for a lot of people. Listen, it's awesome to go to a Super Bowl, but at the same time, I'm much more, the experience at home is much better than actually going. And you want to be there for your team to win a championship. But can you imagine spending 10 grand on tickets and then your team goes and gets their doors blown off in the game, and you got to sit there for what I call the long goodbye for 4 quarters of knowing that you have to have some kind of little hope that they might come back and win? That would be my definition of hell. Absolute hell.
Yeah, that's people who travel to, I talk about this all the time. People who travel to sporting events, I don't get it. It's not fun to me to spend the money on the airfare, the hotel, the tickets, and then you're walking out of the stadium, and maybe your team they got their shit kicked in, and people are like, oh no, but the experience, it was so good. To me, that's not fun. That's not a
No.
fun experience to me. I'll travel for concerts. I travel for WWE because it's a guaranteed good time with the money that I spend. Traveling to see your favorite sports team, let alone in a Super Bowl where it's so expensive, that's not a fun experience to me.
No, I listen, I agree. Back in my younger days, like more of my single days, whenever I had a team in the playoffs, like I'm a big Steelers fan, if I had a team in the playoffs, I would start to get this itch during the week of like, think I gotta go. I think I gotta try to go to the game. I don't know. And you'd go and you'd sit there like the Jet Steeler AFC Championship in 2010 was like 20 below wind chill, and yet somehow I felt like I had to be there. And yeah, they won the game, but they almost blew it. And I think I had I couldn't feel my hands for 2 days. Like, how is that enjoyable? Like, what was I thinking that, yes, and sitting in the upper deck and, way the hell up, I'm a lot more likely to just sit in front of the high definition television and enjoy ample amount of snacks without leaving my seat.
Have you been hard on Lamar Jackson this week on Carlin versus Joe?
Disappointed. Yeah. Really hard on the fact that pick aggravated me to no end. That was such a bad interception. That to me is where the problem really was the other day, because you can be bad in a game for a while, but then if you can pick it up and salvage it and get them out of it, like, that shows a lot to me. And that team's driving down the field twice. All right, they had the fumble at the goal line from Zay Flowers, which was mind-boggling. But at the same time, you're Lamar, you're still bringing them back down the field. Still got a chance in this game. Game is far from over. And you throw a ball into the end zone in triple coverage? What are you doing? Yeah, that bum that, and I like Lamar. I think Lamar is a great show, and he is somebody that I think, if you haven't seen him in person, like, the show of seeing him in person is even that much more impressive. But that ticked me off to no end. Absolutely.
I know, Chiefs fans don't like hearing it, and certainly the winning team doesn't like hearing it, but I really thought it was a case of Baltimore lost that game as opposed to Kansas City winning it. I really thought
Totally agree. That was about mistakes. That was about dumb mistakes adding up. The taunting foul was remarkably dumb. And frankly, Zay Flowers is never that kind of kid at Boston College. And that's why I was really thrown off that he made that mistake. Then he coughs it up. Then the Lamar interception. They
5 personal fouls throughout the game.
Yeah, the Roquan Smith play when he jumps across and they're trying to go offside on purpose, and he gets a roughing call. Like, what are we doing? Mm-hmm. What are we doing? They lost that game more than Kansas City won that game. Absolutely.
Do you think Detroit Lions fans, even if they believe that Dan Campbell screwed up the game on Sunday, do you think they're mad at Dan Campbell?
No, they can't be mad at Dan Campbell. You might be ticked off for a day or so. If this was next year, you'd be mad at Dan Campbell. In other words, like, if you had gotten this far this year, then you got there again next year, and then that cost you, that's where, the honeymoon's over, so to speak. But this year, no, I don't get the impression that they are. Lions fans have experienced what actual joy looks like, which is not something they've ever experienced. And so, and when I say that, I mean the Lions fans who are alive have ever experienced it. So no, I don't think they're mad at Dan Campbell right now, but I think if we're in this position next year, they definitely will be and should be.
Yeah, there are different ways to experience these losses, like between the two teams, the Ravens and Lions. The Ravens fan is not going to look back at this season with any type of pleasure. The Lions fan will look back at this season and remember, that was amazing. I had such a good time.
Yeah. But at the same time, if I'm a Lions fan, it can't be a one and done thing. Like, this has to be the start of an era for me because I'm due for an era, to say the least. This has to be the, I think back to like 92 when they pounded the Cowboys 38-6, pounded them. But that was it. Like it disappeared after that year. That can't be what happens now. To think back about this fondly, I think more than anything, it has to be the beginning of what is a historical period for them.
Does Patrick Mahomes have that Michael Jordan era to him now where, like, he's not going to win every game, but it's pretty stupid to think he's going to lose a game before it starts?
It's pretty stupid to bet against him. Let's put it that way. It's pretty stupid to bet against him because if that can happen the other day, I mean, if you're ever going to get him, he's on the road. He clearly doesn't have the same weapons that he's had before, or even, listen, those weapons weren't as good this year as they were last year. Like everything is lining up. You had a team that runs the football exceptionally well against a team that, if they have a weakness on defense, it is against the run. All of it adds up, and it kind of just shows like if you can't get that guy, then when are you going to get him?
Yep.
It was the first time, the divisional round was the first time that I thought to myself, he might catch Brady. He might. And I don't know about the champion. Like when I said that, I meant the championships. Brady had 3 by the time he was 27. But what I think a lot of us forget is he went 10 years without winning one after that. Mahomes has got 2 and potentially his 3rd by the time he's 28. Is that out of the realm of possibility? Well, if he doesn't have that that dry spell of winning one, of winning a couple in the middle. I mean, Brady certainly got to some championship game or to some Super Bowls. Yeah, maybe. Like,
not that Mahomes isn't an amazing competitor, but when you compare at this, Mahomes' age right now and Brady when he was this age, Mahomes has already made so much more money than Brady. Yeah. So it's difficult for me to imagine Mahomes playing remotely as long as Brady did.
I don't think he's going to play till he's 45. No, not by any stretch. But again, he's 28. So what is that, does he play till he's 38, 39? Maybe. If he plays in the next 10 years, if he gets this one this year, can he get 4 in the next 10 years? I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to say no. I wouldn't fully bet on it, but I wouldn't be comfortable betting against it either.
I like this Super Bowl. I feel like maybe there's Chiefs fatigue. Obviously, we had Chiefs 49ers a few years ago, but the idea that this is a boring Super Bowl, it's not like we got, it's not like it's Texans and one of the lower seeds in the NFC, Texans and Packers, I guess. Like,
right.
This to me, there's star power, there's storylines. I like this game.
I like this game too, and it comes out of the gate. It's a 1 or 2 point spread. That says to me we're going to have a pretty good game. I like this game a lot. Is Brock Purdy that much better than where they were a few years ago when they had Jimmy Garoppolo in this spot? We all forget Niners had a 10-point lead in that game. Early fourth quarter, and got outscored 21-0 the rest of the way. I personally, I think this is going to be a really good game. I'd be surprised if this was not a game that was decided in the fourth quarter, and I'm excited for it too. Like, what the hell? And what is even more, like, I hate to be this guy, but like, we only got one more football game. Damn it! What happened? Yeah. Like, this entire, like, the days are long, but the weeks and months are short, and this flew by this year. This absolutely flew by. Not, like, in 2 weeks, I'm thinking about, and I can't even say I'm thinking about it. I should say the only thing I have to think about is like the NBA All-Star game. No, I mean, February and July are the two worst sports months of the year.
Yep.
So I just want the next week and a half to drag.
The NHL All-Star is not going to hold you over?
No, it's not going to get me there. Sorry. And the NBA trade deadline is next week. It's right before the Super Bowl. So I got to combine them all together. I can't at least, spread them out a little bit more.
Yep. Is Belichick done? I don't think he coaches again.
Maybe. Like if it's not next year, he's done. If it's not next year, he's done. The Jerry Jones comments this week, I could certainly work with him, all this stuff. Maybe he takes one more crack at it next year. But what's clear is that nobody wants a jackass in the building. Nobody wants to deal with that. And it's not just him. It's like you can't be difficult and lose games. You can be difficult and win games, but people want a much more, no other way to say it. They just want a much more pleasant work environment with people. They don't, you can't tick off the owner as much as you do when you're not winning games anymore. And 6 Super Bowls will carry for you a while, but that just shows you like it can end at any time. It can end at any time. So I'm sure that at some point there will be some sort of a media tour kind of showing the lighter, softer side of Belichick, and he'll
Do you think viewers want to hear from Belichick? Like he should do TV. I'm a viewer. I don't care to hear from Belichick.
No, I don't care to hear from Belichick that much on TV, but he is a different guy when it's not just about trying to win a game and it's his football team. He is a different guy personality-wise at all other times. And like when it's just talking about football and having fun with it, he's better at it. I don't know that I want him doing the NFL today, but I think he'll do, some spots here and there over the next year to get back.
I'm going to let you go with this, Chris, because I know, from all your experience in New York, I want to hear what you think about it. Last night, Kevin Durant makes his return to Brooklyn, and you get the video tribute, which everyone gets a video tribute now.
Oh my God.
And I know I sound like an old man. I'm pretty sure you're about to sound like an old man too. But man, like a video tribute for what? For 4 years of chaos and underperformance and being difficult. What are we? If we're the Brooklyn Nets, can we have a little bit of self-respect?
Yeah, I know. And it's going to bother you. It's going to bother me. I don't think it's an old man thing. I think it's just, could you have earned it? Here's the problem. If they don't give him the video tribute, then players look at it, believe it or not, they do it because of what their reputation as an organization will be. And that's really the bigger problem. Like that would bother players. Is that going to work against us in free agency or something? Come on. Like Kevin Durant, I mean, that big three, so to speak, just drove that organization into the ground. The Kyrie video, I don't even know. Has Kyrie been back yet? Like
he is not. He's not.
Yeah. So like that's the one that would really drive me up the wall when that guy just did everything he could to be a complete nightmare for them. But it will happen. It will absolutely happen. And it's not, I'll admit when I'm being an old man. This is not being an old man. It's just, hey, what did you do for the organization? You took a lot of money. That's what you did. So, and then you didn't play nearly enough and you didn't get anywhere. So ultimately for me, like I'm with you. That's God, please.
Great job, Chris. Tell everybody how they can catch you, of course, on ESPN.
We're every day, 12 to 3 Eastern time on ESPN radio, on Sirius XM, channel 80, on, basically TuneIn, iHeartRadio app, everywhere you can get it, but nationally on ESPN radio across the country. Appreciate it,
Awesome.
Zaslow. Good to talk to you.
Thank you for doing it. I appreciate it, man. We'll be listening. Thanks so much, Chris.
I appreciate it. I hate heat culture. Thanks.